When it comes to the demographic and target audience of my magazine, I use the same kind of research that Kerrang did, with the use of an imaginary entity said by Yen Ang in 1991, and inside of this I made an audience profile of what kind of things my target audience would like and who they are. From this we can see that my target audience is made up of mainly males, with the median age of around 20, while 60% of them will fit into the ABC1 category, meaning that most of them will have a lot of money as well as disposable income to spend on things like magazines. Also, another form of research that I used was a questionnaire for my pitch, asking people what they liked about the magazine and who at the class would buy it. Looking at the results, I saw that most of them were male. When it came to aiming my magazine towards this target audience, I made sure that there were a few things inside the magazine that makes my target audience would be interested in buying it. For example, the kind of bands which I included in my magazine were ones that have a lot of fans and that a lot of people like. However, a lot of people will dislike these kind of bands, which is something that is to be expected from the rock and roll social group and the rock genre as a whole, since everyone has different opinions. So mediating this was a good idea and embedded the connotations of the rock magazine even more. The next one being the prize that could be potentially won, with the prize being a ticket to Download 2014, which is something that my target audience would love and something that they would want to buy the magazine for, considering that it is one of the biggest festivals of the year. With the kind of things that I mentioned in question 4 in mind, it was important to make my magazine so that it targeted this kind of audience with the connotations and everything into it. To start with were the pictures of my main models within the magazine. When taking my pictures, I always made sure that the main male model was surrounded by the two girls. This connoted an ideal self to other males who were reading the magazine, and they would want to be in the same kind of position as the male model, is because it looks cool and it's something that most people might dream of, especially if they're male. Another way I made my magazine aimed towards my target audience was with the kind of clothes that my models were wearing and the kind of poses they were doing. They wore clothes that I instructed them to wear. The ones that I picked out were ones that would connote rock as a whole and would make people think rock when they looked at the people in the magazine, which I think was something that I managed to do well. I made sure that they wore black, which connotes rebellion, which is something that my target audience is rebellious. So I think that this suits them perfectly and is much easier to see. Another way in which I will be trying to focus my magazine towards my target audience is with the use of the cover lines on the cover. They will have things on that will attract my audience to it, as well as show my target audience what they're going to be purchasing and what is the kind of content in the magazine. The things in the magazine will suit their music taste and their particular culture and social group, especially considering that the rock culture and the music taste is almost a way of life for some people. One of the biggest changes I made was to the banner behind my main cover line. I did a bit of editing to it to make it look a bit rough and almost like it's been burnt with a cigarette. This connotes coolness and rebellion, which is something that my target audience would like to see and something that would attract them to my magazine. Because of this aesthetic look, it looks much cooler, and I think it suits the magazine as a whole compared to what it used to look like. In my contents page, in order to address my audience, I used peer-to-peer mode of addressing my letter from the editor. This connotes a personal feel, and with something like the rock genre, feeling like you know someone who likes the same music as you is something that people look forward to, so I think it's good. I also did the same thing in my DPS. However, the difference with the DPS is that it's an interview style, with the mode of address still being peer-to-peer. This is represented by the colloquial language that I use, which connotes a relaxed attitude, and mostly not caring kind of attitude, which connoted as cool within my target audience and social group.